apocalyptic objective of creating a utopian society.
What a Circus Roadshow World Wrestling Federation troll of trolls. Trump, you are the king of the troll, or at least his handlers are. John Fetterman was right about that. The grab bag of half-wits nominated for vital positions within the US security and economic apparatus are next level, and we'll talk about it. Not all of them, but it's still pretty funny. Alex Jones denounced as potential chief troller in the White House is my fave, and Matt Gaetz, of course. The man the deep state tried to destroy, that's Alex Jones, by giving him $20 million in free publicity without a single dollar changing hands in his court case. Now that's good. That's good trolling. The man at the top levels of the January 6 incitement, that's Alex Jones, with DIA Michael Flynn as head organizer, totally avoids jail and not even indicted. A man who has never had so much as his car scratched, his windows shot out, his officers in Austin attacked, or an IRS investigation, who flies first class at all times and is conservatively worth at least $60 million in cash in his parents' LLC in Nevada, who is covering for World Economic Forum and Pfizer lackey Susie Wiles by deleting videos exposing her, and especially now she's chief of staff for Trump, we'll see how long that lasts, is considered an enemy of the deep state. Now that's just plainly too funny. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and Dana White and Donald Trump under super agent and super Zionist intelligence asset Ari Emanuel, his brother Barack Obama's chief of staff. Now that is just too funny. Musk is Ari Emanuel's bestie. My goodness, how far does this go? Anyone would think this was a fake two-party system run out of the city of London and Israel. We'll discuss that. Remember, to distract from what matters, and what matters is bankers, Wall Street, and the City of London, they must provide fake issues, fake dragons to slay, so heroes and villains can be made in the psych warfare game. And you'll follow them. The general public can be made to remain politically passive and sit and cheer their team over the gladiatorial sideshow, a circus. And boy, do we have bread and circuses. Highly coordinated. Dialectical, polarizing propaganda with two stark sides you can join in the banker dialectic dance. Now, that's a good meme. Think about it. The BDD, the banker dialectic dance, a highly coordinated, seductive dance. Everyone in line, moving to the beat of the banker music. Right now, there is an alleged super fight going on. Two sides engage in heavy political combat. Really? Or just the appearance of heavy political combat?
Don't worry about it. It's nothing new. During Reagan's administration, 240 Marines killed in Beirut. 24 hours later, we invade Grenada. That was their MO. Change the story, change the lead. It's not a new concept. White people we touch that, we'll talk more about it.
We can't afford a war.
We're not going to have a war. We're going to have the appearance of a war.
We cannot afford the appearance of a war.
What'll it cost?
But they would find out.
Who's going to find out? The American people?
Exactly.
Who's going to tell them?
We'll discuss the old Fabian socialist method of dialectical control in depth. So let's split this analysis into two major parts, the strategic and the tactical. The tactical detail, gossip, and psychological warfare will change daily or hourly, and we simply do not know what is mind games and what is a real tactical decision. We have to wait that one out and see who is actually allowed in by the confirmation process. But we can with some certainty describe the strategic big picture and predict where that is going. That is our North Star. I repeat this. This is our North Star. It will always see us right and it will never lead us astray. So we need the big strategic picture, and then slowly the details will emerge over time. Knowing and understanding that big picture will tell us exactly where the Trump World Wrestling Federation show is headed and who is in charge. Right now, many estimate it's a pure Jewish Zionist power play, total takeover. I'm not so sure, but let's talk about it. It's too easy to get lost in the detail. It's where the devil resides and it's where they want to lead you. You have to stick with the big picture narrative as a starting point, or you won't see the forest for the trees. This is the big picture. It's all based around the fight for the Eurasian landmass, the Makinda World Island. Who rules Eurasia? Who rules East Europe commands the heartland. Who rules the heartland commands the world island. Who rules the world island controls the world. If you understand that, if you understand the dynamics around it, you will understand the war in Ukraine and Trump and his administration, the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly, for now at least. The second part is tactical. The political picks and the clear trolling. Front and center will be Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. She's a World Economic Forum fan, young global leader and protector of wonderful pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and their wonderful vaccine. She and Tulsi Gabbard will get along. Young commercials like the Hitler Youth stick together. Young commercials, if you didn't know, are the Communist Youth League. Now they're called Young Global Leaders. They'll be sticking closely with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum close friend Vladimir Putin.
Mr. President, we are keen to hear from your perspective and from that of Russia how you see the situation developing in the third decade of the 21st century and what should be done to ensure that people everywhere find peace and prosperity. Mr. President, the world is waiting to hear from you.
Спасибо. Уважаемый господин Шваб, уважаемый
Mr. Schwab, dear colleagues, dear Klaus, I've visited Davos many times, assisting meetings starting from the 90s. Mr. Schwab just mentioned that we met each other first back in 1992.
And I have to say, when I mention our names like this Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I would know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina and it's true in France now. I mean, with the president, with a young global leader, but
A friend of Klaus Schwab for over 30 years. You know, and who's the son of Kissinger? Klaus, he's the son of Kissinger. Who else is the son of Kissinger? Oh, I don't know. Vladimir Putin? Considering the so-called left are just so after Trump, you'd think they'd be going after Kissinger and that relationship night and day. They never touch it. No one ever touches it. I'm giving you stuff here we've been going on about for close to 6 years. No one will repeat it. No one with any audience will repeat these linkages. Who else is good old Heinz Kissinger a friend of? I mean, Heinz, the right hand of Rothschild and the ultimate globalist. Well, 50 years a close friend of the Fox News boy, Rupert Murdoch. All of these people have had super close relationships for over 50 years. Fancy that. Here's Fox News boss Murdoch with Kissinger and General Jim Jones of this Shadowgate expose. Obama's fave NATO general and close to Michael Flynn of the Defense Intelligence Agency. These billionaire globalists, all right? You do understand that Rupert Murdoch is a billionaire globalist. His best friend for over 50 years is Heinz Kissinger, the ultimate globalist, who's the literal right hand of none other than Lord Jacob Rothschild himself in the City of London. Besties with none other than George Soros. And what, these people are rooting for the working class? I mean, geez, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to explode. You sure there's not a turd in that punch bowl? Well, we'll have to discuss that. Obama and Musk were inseparable. And Obama personally handed over NASA to Musk and gave him gigantic taxpayer handouts and subsidies. Will Musk and Big Viv Ramaswamy be cutting this government waste out? Cutting government waste equals firing people. Who or what will they be replaced with? Or how about AI and machine learning, courtesy of Musk and his friends in Israel? Have you thought about that one? They are all tied into the 3 Israeli City of London intelligence assets and long-term sleeper cells, the Emanuel's brothers Ari, Ram, and Ezekiel, also known as illegals.
In the 1950s, an obscure, unassuming photographer lived alone in Brooklyn, operating his business from a storefront. Rudolf Abel attracted little attention until it was revealed he headed a Soviet spy ring operating in America. In the world of espionage, Abel was known as an illegal, a spy who lives under an assumed name and is controlled by Department S of the KGB. It is Department S that selects the agents who quietly blend into the societies of other nations and lead seemingly normal lives, while secretly carrying out orders passed to them from Moscow.
All of these people we have just discussed can be linked together. Musk, Barack Obama, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Dana White of the UFC and World Wrestling Federation circus show, Trump, all related to a super agent whose parents are the hardest of hardcore super Zionists and Israeli intelligence assets, who is also super close to the Obama administration, and his brother is Obama's, Barack Obama's former chief of staff and handler, Emanuel. I mean, hello, left. I thought you were out to get, they're out to get Trump. How are they out to get Trump? They never touch this stuff. It's bollocks. They're all working together. This is why Musk was so close to Obama, and Obama handed him NASA for crying out loud. Literally. And that's all going to the Israeli Space Agency, and that'll all head off into Russia as well. Emanuel bet big on Trump while praising and pushing Kamala. I guess this can lead to a lot of speculation about where the Trump administration is going. Look, they always wanted him in, Trump, hence the retarded Kamala train wreck and sudden shutdown of all support from key establishment areas like mainstream media and the unions. Great dragons or blow-up decoys were set up for Trump to slay in the fake two-party political system.
They are constructed with the utmost care by craftsmen who fully intend for their creations to be blasted to pieces. Placed on the battlefield to look like the real thing, inviting attack from enemy drones and missiles.
Drag queen story time, woke agenda, and an invasion of little brown people who will ultimately fuel America's future demographic and consumption growth, as exposed by Steve Bannon just out of jail.
They understand that this administration purposely let in millions of illegal alien migrants, illegal aliens, to drive down labor costs. The Federal Reserve said it from the very beginning, we're going to drive down labor inflation by getting more unskilled workers here and putting pressure on the lowest skilled sector we have. And they were successful, and they brag about being successful.
It can lead one to speculate along the lines of Professor Carroll Quigley and his opus, Tragedy and Hope, that American politics is a fake two-party system run by the same banking and financial interests, just like Russian politics.
Consider the fascinating perspective of the recently deceased Boris Berezovsky, once the most powerful of the Russian oligarchs and the puppet master behind President Boris Yeltsin during the late 1990s. After looting billions in national wealth and elevating Vladimir Putin to the presidency, he overreached himself and eventually went into exile. According to the New York Times, he had planned to transform Russia into a fake two-party state, one social democratic and one neoconservative, in which heated public battles would be fought on divisive, symbolic issues, while behind the scenes, both parties would actually be controlled by the same ruling elites. With the citizenry thus permanently divided and popular dissatisfaction safely channeled into meaningless dead ends, Russia's rulers could maintain unlimited wealth and power for themselves with little threat to their reign.
And Mr. Putin went to the front of the stage.
Группа сотрудников ФСБ, направленные вами в командировку для работы под прикрытием правительства, на первом этапе со своими задачами справляется.
So let's watch for tactical changes to offer olive branches to the Trump faithful, like appointing RFK into health, which has the establishment screaming, or they're allegedly screaming. They were never picking RFK for health, but the backlash against Susie Wiles changed all that. In the end, we will see who is who in the zoo over the coming weeks and months. To be sure, it is impossible to believe the Trump loyalists will tolerate Susie Wiles anywhere near the ongoing Trump administration. But maybe the damage is already done, and we can say the people who have run the World Wrestling Federation and US politics and the UFC have won already. If they need to keep chiefs of staff of dubious origin in their positions, then they will need to slay many more blow-up fake dragon issues and hand out the candy. The current UFO narrative doing the rounds is setting up that handout.
Does any branch of the United States government or defense contractors possess technology?
Flying saucers!
Sir, there's documentation that I believe was submitted for the record that was approved for release by the U.S. Pentagon, by the Department of Defense Office of Pre-Publication Security Review, and it states one of the reasons why my predecessor program, OSAP, was trying to collect material.
Flying saucers!
Of unknown origin.
Was it successfully collected?
It was not. What happened is that there was an aerospace contract company that requested to divest itself of the material that was collected in the 1950s.
Flying saucers!
Once their UFO garbage has finished its run, I mean, UFO stuff is now the drag queen storytime crisis acting of today's period. I suggest to you will be revealed secret technologies are in the offering, as promised by Alex Jones pre-2016 election.
Trump intends to flood the entire planet with true globalism. The biggest secret of Trump is that he intends to turn loose all these disruptive technologies.
Flying saucers!
And to actually let partners have them and to work with Russia and others that also have advanced technologies, because he knows a deal was made to let China take over with economic warfare and let them control the system because they'd proven themselves evil, killing over 100 million of their own people. So our elite went to work with China, just like they admit in the last month. I told you months ago, they'll plan on China propping up world government, China to save this collapsing system. And then they come out in the news in hundreds of publications, communist China to save the New World Order and to defeat Trump. See, our own media siding with people that oppress their own population. People ask, especially intelligence agencies and military and others, they go, how does Jones know this?
Flying saucers!
It will take a lot to remove the heat from multiple issues, including Donald Trump's super agent and close friend for many years, Emanuel. This is a far bigger issue than Susie Wiles, and Susie Q is bad enough. We have an unbroken line directly to Israeli intelligence and Obama's former chief of staff and the Chicago Jewish mob right out of the Trotskyite neocon University of Chicago hit team. You think Alex Jones or even David Knight will talk about that? I mean, David Knight did an excellent little production on Susie Q. I suggest you watch it. But David Knight's not going to talk about a lot of other stuff. It's a real containment, isn't it? It's a dialectical containment. That's pretty interesting. The University of Chicago is the home of the old Frankfurt School, the sophisticated German Jewish Marxists who were handling the Bolshevik Revolution and became frustrated at Stalin. Hitler evicted them from Germany post-1933, and first they ended up in New York, then the University of Chicago, with such leading figures as Irving Kristol, a confirmed hardcore communist and follower of Trotsky. His son plays cards with Roger Stone every month. You know Bill Kristol? Isn't he a confirmed neo-conservative? Yeah, like his Trotskyite revolutionary father. They are conservatives in drag only, as is Roger Stone, with his close relationship to General Michael Flynn, NATO, and Marine Psych Warfare General Jim Jones of Shadowgate, and Marine and CIA Psych Warfare trainer Robert David Steele. You seeing a pattern here?
This may strike your listeners as way out, but we actually believe that there is a colony on Mars that is populated by children who were kidnapped and sent into space on a 20-year ride.
Flying saucers!
I mean, here's Roger Stone. I mean, come on, get me Roger Stone. The guy is a sexual deviant, closet bisexual, hardcore meth and coke addict. I mean, give me a break. He and his wife have been running group sex parties for decades. Does he sound like a conservative? I mean, seriously, well, actually, some would say, yeah, he's the American conservatives, all right? Sounds like a Sabatier and Francus to me. Please watch the Traitors in the Trump series, formerly Rats in the Ranks. The linkages between these traitors surrounding and handling Trump are endless. Now, you saw the look on Trump's face when meeting Joe Biden while Joe was all smiles. Corrupt Joe wants BB's ass. Is that a good sign? I don't know. It's too tactical. We have to wait. Trump looks like he was told to watch out for grassy knolls. Where is Pompeo, Mike Pompeo? He's allegedly in Ghana, Africa, as we speak, as a private citizen. Really? Pompeo and Mattis single-handedly stopped the Kissinger City of London multipolar world order and Primakov doctrine from unfolding. What's that? Never heard of it? Not to worry, I'll tell you all about that. And that is the big picture strategic doctrine we can use as the bellwether for which direction the Trump administration is ultimately heading. Now, none of these people are saints. We are seeking to push and support the correct narrative that builds American power to break the hold and system of the City of London and 13 families of Europe.
Sir, shouldn't we abolish the Federal Reserve and the CFR? That's the real reality that none of you will talk about and most of you are members. That's what's destroying this country, Governor. Don't you stand for America, sir? What about the Federal Reserve and the CFR? You people are being lied to. This country's been taken over by Europe.
Now, if Trump pulls out of NATO and withdraws from Europe and the Middle East, then you will know he is in the hands of Jewish Zionist power. Totally. However, I doubt that. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm betting he's not. But it's not going to be perfect. People who say he was always one of them, well, yes, he was, but in 2016, they got a hold of him and pushed out Kissinger's crew and ended the multipolar world order program. And to be fair, Trump did a good job of assisting. That proves Jewish Zionist power had lost control of their asset. Not the first time. Ask Adolf and Joseph. Not that I'm comparing Trump to Adolf or Joseph Stalin. Now, cutting off France and Germany from Russian raw resources and Russia from German and French high technology destroyed the City of London plot to isolate and contain the United States to a small section of the world. That is the multipolar world order put forward by Kissinger and associates and City of London.
And a Belt and Road Initiative in seeking to connect China to Central Asia and eventually to Europe will have the practical significance of shifting the world's center of gravity from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and will involve the cultures of Eurasia, each of whom will have to decide what relationship to this vision they will seek, and so will the United States.
Even the Ayatollah was in on it.
مطمئناً این خطوط اساسی درش هست. اولش عبارت است از انزوای آمریکا. در نظم جدید جهانی آمریکا منزوی خواهد بود. برخلاف اونی که در 20 سال پیش بوش پدر گفت امروز تنها قدرت مسلط دنیا آمریکاست. خط اساسی دوم انتقال قدرت سیاسی و اقتصادی و فرهنگی و علمی حتی از غرب به آسیا. آسیا خواهد شد مرکز دانش، مرکز اقتصاد، مرکز قدرت سیاسی، مرکز قدرت نظامی.
Perhaps that makes sense when you understand that President Rouhani spent 6 years in Scotland hanging out with Lord Levi and good old Jack Straw. That's one step away from good old Rothschild himself. No one will talk about it. Now, cutting the US off from China was also the plan. China would make its money and have total access to all the resources it wanted, building the Rothschild Belt and Road system with Israel, France, Germany, and Russia. Hence why you see articles from the Israeli press like this one talking about Israel and Iran both joining the Russia Free Trade Zone. Did Whitney Webb tell you about that one? No, of course she didn't. Oh, Bibi, deep in bed with China and Russia, and the talking heads would not mention it. Just a few outlets, mainly Israeli, and Pompeo had to end it, and that's what he did. He was handling Trump in the right direction. He and the power he represents ended the Kissinger and Associates multipolar world order. That's not up for debate. That's what happened, no matter what you think of Pompeo or anyone else for that matter, including General Mattis. General Mattis and Pompeo were the head of a power structure that saved the United States, for good or ill. Only Steve Bannon, out of the hundreds of top-level talking heads, ever approached this subject. That's it, Steve Bannon, and he's not exactly pure himself, meeting with Kissinger and Alexander Dugin in 2016, but he has since redeemed himself somewhat with many papal indulgences. All of the countries and personalities mentioned are Rothschild City of London assets, not sovereign countries. You have to give the Orange Man some credit. He did an excellent job of doing what needed to be done, following the correct orders. Give him a little credit, particularly taking on the military-industrial complex and taking on Lockheed itself. That has not been done before. No one has ever humiliated a top-level military-industrial complex CEO like Trump did, ever. Give the Orange Man some credit.
The leading woman's business executive in this country, according to many. And we buy billions and billions of dollars worth of that beautiful F-35. It's stealth. You cannot see it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Better be correct, right?
Absolutely.
Marilyn, please say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would just say that this is a very important moment for our country in that we are addressing what is a critical area for the aerospace and defense industry, and that is protecting our intellectual property as has been expressed, that is a threat to us if we have that stolen from our companies, because that is the lifeblood of our companies. And so we very much welcome this action on the part of the Trump administration and the President of the United States. Thank you.
Then the release of a virus complicated that outcome, and that was a warning from the City of London to cease and desist. They were ignored, and here we are. And the circus is at full swing. Now, who is who in this zoo? We're going to have to wait and see. Remember, that's a tactical thing. We need to keep in mind the grand narrative, the big picture, and then we'll see how it all slots in down below. We saw Bibi and the City of London strike back with CrowdStrike that corrupted endless US corporate entities using Microsoft Windows software. Cyber really is the real domain of power.
All of these companies have major research centers in Israel. Not research centers, major research centers in Israel. Our NSA, which is called Unit A200, it's pretty big. How big do you think it is? Well, I'll give you a hint. You know the Five Eyes? Israel is the sixth eye? No, Israel is the second eye. The United States is bigger than Israel. But it ain't that much bigger than Israel.
Because the intersection of big data, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, and what it does in robotics and genetics and all the other fields, Uli, that you mentioned, everything, that is changing our world in rapid succession. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We can take it, and we are. It's changing us. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. And cyber is a real domain of power. It's a new kind of warfare, very different from what we've seen before. I'm talking about the capacity, and it's not imaginary, it's not futuristic, and it's not exaggerated. With the click of a button, you can bring down nations to their knees very rapidly, if you so desire.
Once I locate the proper code sequence, this terminal will allow me to take command of the satellites which control the world's power grid. Once they're under my control, the entire world will be subject to my whims. I'd drop the gun if I were you, Joe.
What? It's Stan.
Oh, sorry, you look sort of like someone from... Anyway, I'd drop the gun if I were you. I now control the entire planet's power grid. And unless you want me to send you all back to the Dark Ages, you'll do exactly as I say.
1 week after CrowdStrike, Bibi visits Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
Now I'm on it. Come on. Come on.
Watch the best part.
Greatest dinner I've ever had. Come on, let's get a good, beautiful. Please, let's make a photo.
And we've always had a very good relationship. And if I didn't, I have a secret weapon. You know what it is? Sarah. You're sitting right up there. I have Sarah. As long as I have Sarah, that's all that matters.
What was said at that meeting? Was Emanuel there? What did Trump mean when he said Sarah was his secret weapon?
As long as I have Sarah, that's all that matters.
You know all the rumors about her having something over Bibi. Shall we go on? Or are we going to confuse ourselves? Because I'm telling you, it just does not end. Who is who in the zoo? Sarah Netanyahu gets to tell him who to appoint. That wasn't just casual crap. That was well reported, surprisingly. I always was intrigued by this. I was especially intrigued over the stories that she'd booted him out of a cavalcade out onto the street after she accused him of screwing around. Well, you know, they won a defamation case about that. It's not well talked about, but it's pretty funny, just the visuals. Well, by the end of this well-chaptered and structured video, you will have a good idea of what is going on and what to look for, but only the big picture. And they don't want that talked about. They want you to focus on the heated debates about nothing. That's how it works. And do not mention bankers and the fraud of 2008 that American taxpayers have to pay for, $5 trillion worth. The circus is designed to keep that question and those people, those people out of the question, out of the discussion, out of the news cycle. Stick to rounding up little brown people, not bankers. You also get a good idea of the fraud that is the online alt media, all in lockstep, spreading the talking points Fox and CNN want. The final aim is to keep the general public from interfering in politics except as cheerleaders and suckers. Independent action is not permitted. Hence why you've never heard of congressional candidate Mary Silver from Seattle, Washington, or the international activist Paola and Nirvana and street activist Lee, and the incredible work they have been doing.
Hey, check it out, man. National security issue that America's facing right now. You know about cyber attacks? You're seeing this movie Obama made called the Leave the World Behind? It's pretty wild stuff. But it's a real threat that we're facing right now, and it's kind of a problem, so I'm trying to spread awareness about it.
Hey Steve, real quick, I want to give this information. Russian penetration of Israel, cyber attacks on the rise because of Russia and Israel. So I want you to look into that for me, please. Awesome, man, appreciate it.
Israel is actually an ally, okay? But if you're going to be an ally, it's two ways. You got to be an ally. Netanyahu has been rubbing up on China.
Congressman, I just had some information for you. It's some serious information about Israel working with China and all high technology being exported out of the country. So I have some information for you about Microsoft, Intel, Qualcomm. All of their R&D has been moved to Israel, and we have this rise in cyber attacks. Here you go, Chief.
Senator Sanders, the issue of the Jedi cloud, the Pentagon being compromised by Israeli intelligence.
Thank you.
Have you looked into that? Do you know that Microsoft is basically...
Excuse me.
Okay, this is a key issue, though. When are we going to talk about this?
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you guys.
Congressman, yesterday was the anniversary of the USS Liberty, where Israelis killed lots of U.S. Navy men. Now we're going to put the Pentagon cloud in the hands of the same government? It's very weird.
Can I have your email, and then I'll just take all your questions and give them to her, and we'll get back to you.
Sure. Give me your card, and I'll email you. Can I give you the flyers that I wanted for her to have? Of course. You know, the last time that cyber was put in the hands of Israeli nationals was in the run-up to September 11th, when Amit Yaron, the Israeli national who was sheep-dipped in the U.S. Army, was put in charge of the Pentagon cyber infrastructure. Are you aware of that?
Hence why the only advice Alex Jones has ever given as he makes millions every year is to, quote, bullhorn the White House. That other Emanuel product, Joe Rogan, also has good advice. Vote for Trump and do magic mushrooms and smoke a lot of pot. And remember, focus on UFOs.
Flying saucers.
Joe Rogan should be shot for treason. All of them should be. The youth, the young males are in the bag. Let's get
ready to rumble!
Well, I'll be damned. What a crazy time. It's a crazy old time. Did you see the look on Trump's face? Look at Biden. Two completely different reactions. There they have a meeting with Biden. Biden's smiling like a Cheshire cat. They all spin it as he's just glad Kamala lost. And there's Trump. Look at Trump. He's as nervous as hell. It's like he's just been told, hey, dickhead, do as you're told or else the grassy knoll awaits. Have a look at him. You telling me that's Trump? That's not Trump. They spoke for 2 hours. But this is not the first time Trump's put his tongue up the backside of his opposition. Like, you know, Obama.
Please. Well, thank you very much, President Obama. This was a meeting that was going to last for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we were just going to get to know each other. We had never met each other. I have great respect. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half. And it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer.
And, you know, the Clintons.
Very, very honored when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today. And I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. And honestly, there's nothing more I can say because I have a lot of respect for those two people.
Sometimes I wonder if it's all just totally fake. No, I don't believe that entirely, but I certainly don't blame the average person for thinking that. Wow, we got a lot to talk about. My goodness, all these cabinet positions, of course, they all have to be approved first, and we'll see how that goes, won't we? It's all going to be very interesting. Just to begin, I don't have a major problem with Matt Gaetz. He won't take any money from AIPAC, and he hates him. He also hates Elon Musk with a passion. They haven't got rid of Elon yet, but God willing, it will be very soon. I'll be surprised if they last 2 weeks. There's going to have to wait for the dust to fall. You're just going to have to wait. Believe me, I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. I've just never seen anything so bad. It's complicated. So let's talk about it. We'll make it simple. Remember, if it gets really complicated, as it often does, one of the things you have to do is go big picture. Don't get lost in the detail. Remember I said this nearly 4 years ago on a video about the particular seeing the forest for the trees.
Friends, exciting times, and for many a very anxious time. I have some questions. Who is Antifa? Who is BLM? Who is MAGA? Who's running all of this? And did Trump finally get a brain and decide that the political genius, love or hate him, Steve Bannon, should be back on his team? We'll be asking more and more of these questions, but till then, I want to answer this big question, because we can't understand the particular. We can't understand the tactical. We can't understand what's going on in Washington, D.C. by looking at particulars. We have to understand grand strategy. We have to understand the goal. We have to understand the grand chessboard. We have to understand Mackinder World Island, Pan-Eurasian superstate, the Bunting Cloverleaf map. When we understand those things and Israel's central role along with the banking cartels of Rothschild, City of London, Paris, France, Frankfurt, Germany, and of course, Basel, Switzerland for the Bank of International Settlements, and Zurich, only when we understand the banking system running through Wall Street, down in Wall Street into serving and retired generals who are also involved in drug trafficking. Thank you, Kay Griggs.
So don't ever forget that. All right? Let's get busy and talk about some of this garbage. Always remember this. It's always a dialectic. It's not total control. It's not a total script, but it's a hell of a lot of a script. They're jostling. They're fighting. They're having goes at each other. They're a bunch of squabbling children. But let me tell you, the narrative you haven't heard. You haven't heard bankers. You haven't heard Lehman Brothers, Wall Street, 2008. You haven't heard Rothschild, and you haven't heard City of London, ever, except from one person, Steve Bannon.
And so I think when she says, remember her argument, not mine. She says the deep state of the Bank of England and the other financial community with the City of London turfed her out. And I think I don't agree with that totally, but there's definitely something there. The lords of easy money on Wall Street and the City of London have enormous power. And they have enormous power in these agencies. They have enormous power in our Treasury, they have enormous power in our Federal Reserve, and they have enormous power in the Bank of England.
That's it. And I got problems with Steve Bannon. He's also very, very close with Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz looks to me like a young Richard Nixon being groomed for higher office. Remember, Richard Nixon took on the commies and was groomed as the great commie killer. Only he didn't kill any commies, except good old Rosenbergs, the sacrificial lambs. The whole network was completely missed. Al Jahis, big deal. Where's the rest of them? Head of the IMF, friend of Harry Dexter White, friend of Roosevelt. And then who did Nixon end up hanging around with? None other than Nelson Rockefeller and Heinz Kissinger, who admittedly they used to call Jew boy. And finally, when they'd had enough of Kissinger went, I've had enough of you. And Nixon went first. And of course, James Angleton, head of CIA counterintelligence, got an awfully bad rap, slightly deserved. But of course, he was conned by his Israeli friends. He was also very good friends with Yitzhak Rabin, who Bibi and Likud killed all those years ago. Very strange. And when Angleton woke up, he too was disappeared. So it's a very, very interesting time. Well, let us begin with the picks. Let's start at Marco Rubio. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's going to get my tick of approval. In an imperfect world, a man who, shall we say, is very good at relationships. He will do well on the cocktail circuit. He has a lot of experience as a closet bisexual on the Miami bubble party scene. Marco Rubio, not a bad pick. It's not Mike Pompeo, but it's close enough. I should have explained to you previously, I'm sure I have, why Mike Pompeo and Mattis were so important in the first Trump administration. Let us now attend and move on to my personal favorite, party guy, Matt Gaetz. Let's start with a song. She was only 16. Dr. Hook, only 16. Ooh, love. Okay, all jokes aside. Good old Matt Gaetz.
Party Guy Gates, yes, I do believe there is video of him having sex with a 17-year-old, which is illegal in Florida, where the age of consent is 18, which I find utterly ridiculous, but whatever. And high on cocaine, no doubt about it. I've had cocaine, I've done meth, I've partied hard, I used to work in nightclubs, don't give a shit. However, he's young, brash and stupid, but he is very close with Steve Bannon. They are very close friends. Bannon knows the truth. No one has gone after the East India Company, Henry Kissinger, City of London, Rothschild and Soros, then Steve Bannon. Rhetoric is strong, incredible rhetoric. I'm just wondering, when you came out of prison, Steve, you said you would be going after the moneyed power.
The elites in this country, the reason there are 10 or 15 million illegal alien migrants or illegal alien here in the United States, the Federal Reserve said this. And now the Congressional Budget Office is saying it, that they had to break the back of inflation, they had to drive down, they focused on wage inflation. And where did they focus on wage inflation? They didn't focus on the investment bankers, they didn't focus on the lawyers, and they didn't focus on the fat cats in Silicon Valley. They focused on unskilled labor here in the United States, and they were open about it. That their lived experience is worse. And their lived experience is worse because of policies of the powerful, the wealthy, and the strong. These people came to this with a new awakening, and that is the awakening the American people are going through. The system is not only broken, the system is rigged against the working class of this nation. And I saw at Danbury that we're going to move past the politics of race with an intermediate stop in the politics of gender, which is being forced on everybody right now. We're going to get to what is important, and that's the politics of money. And that's the politics of money. And that's the politics of money.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
We certainly wait for the word bankers to be uttered by your Messiah. Messiah Trump, a very naughty, he's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. But we're waiting for that. But Matt Gaetz hates Musk, as does Bannon. These are the political games that are played. However, as I discussed recently with some people, man, it's crazy, man. Like, it's trolling. It's pure trolling. Remember, they're destabilizing perception for good or ill. Susie Wiles, I mean, geez, that idiot Big Viv, going to clean up the government. That's pretty funny, seeing as they are the biggest recipients of government handouts ever, particularly Elon Musk. The only bright spark with Elon Musk is we believe he's been dumped out of Tesla and SpaceX so they can actually get the thing running properly as they re-engage with China. Everything is in turmoil. We await to see the dust settle. Matt Gaetz has my tentative tick of approval for Attorney General. Plus, it's going to be fucking hilarious. Minister in charge of parties. Grande fiesta. All right, let's move on to the Department of Defense. Peter Hegseth. I believe he's a sincere fucking retard. Absolutely sincere, though, which means if you could somehow get in his circle, assuming these are all people who are confirmed, and that's another debate, I think he would change his tune on a lot of things. I don't believe for a second that the FBI and the Department of Defense aren't running things on a deep level. I hope. Again, we talked about the North Star, which is engagement with the world, and the way we know that Trump administration is completely compromised, and you need to be finished with it, and he needs a bullet, literally. And now I'm calling. If he disengages from the world, comes back from NATO, we know the story. Now you know. Grand picture. If he messes with the grand narrative, if he messes with the end of controlling Eurasia in any way, then that's the end for him, and he needs a bullet. I don't believe he's going to do that at this stage. So if you believe the Department of Defense are going to be told what to do by this clown, 44-year-old, please. If you think the DC swamp is bad, then clearly you know nothing about the Pentagon swamp and Pentagon bureaucracy. Fat fucking chance. Okay? Relax. He's the fool who'll take the blame when it all goes to shit, or alternatively, he'll be the hero and he'll get his lines. We await to see the final outcome. I won't give him a tick of approval or not. I'm not prepared to even comment. The only thing I'll give him a tick of approval for, sincere idiot. Pretty sure he's sincere. As opposed to Elon Musk and that scammer, Big Viv. Good old Robert F. Kennedy, our favourite smack addict. I think he's a fraud and a piece of shit. He's now a hero because he slayed the COVID dragon or took out his sword and waved it around a bit. I find him obnoxious, vile, disgusting, just like Tulsi Gabbard, a complete fucking fraud. A man who's pushed all sorts of scammers and self-evident morons on COVID. No one will be arrested. Fauci's never going to jail. He's just another bullshit artist. I personally can't stand the sight of him. However, it's going to be interesting seeing him in health. I don't believe he was ever going to be in health, but with the backlash against Susie Wiles, our favourite World Economic Forum / Pfizer PR campaign, I guess they had to throw a bone to the morons. Robert F. Kennedy can go F himself. I can't stand the sight of the piece of shit hanging with Hubbard like all the rest. I think he's one of the biggest, most insincere, opportunistic frauds that ever walked the earth. He's the sort of scumbag who's on hormone replacement therapy, who's actually on testosterone, which bodybuilders take, and he then tells you, I'm not on testosterone, I'm not on steroids, I'm on hormone replacement. Yeah, it's the same fucking thing.
I'm on an anti-aging protocol from my doctor that includes testosterone replacement, but I don't take any steroids.
72-year-old, give it a fucking rest. That's the sort of bullshit that comes out of his mouth. I can't stand Robert Kennedy, but I'm keen. He gets my tick of approval as long as he's in health, because I think that's going to be fucking hilarious. And I guarantee you, while he's there, no one goes to jail, no pharmaceuticals there. I'm telling you, nothing's going to happen. They did 9/11. They brought down 2 big buildings. Anyone go to jail? Work it out. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's end it there. There's no point going on. The pics are half mad. We don't know who half the people are. They're a clown show mixed in with I don't even know what. Drugs, orgies. I can't really think of the words. My brain won't work. I need to stop. I have actually been really depressed. I've watched things that are so macabre and insane, it's better to just leave. Let's just leave the pics and all that alone. Let's just go over the main points again. Donald Trump is handled by they call him a super agent, Ari Emanuel. He owns the UFC, Joe Rogan, World Wrestling Federation, Donald Trump, the successful multi-billionaire, trillionaire property developer who has to have side hustles of a compere for the World Wrestling Federation and a reality TV show because he's such a successful businessman. You believe that? Whatever. I can't. If you don't know what Donald Trump is, it takes 5 minutes to work it out, but I'll leave you with your fantasy, assuming you got this far. The bottom line is, so we've got a lot of explaining to do. Not only Susie Wiles, the pharmaceutical industry rep, the World Economic Foundation. I mean, geez. Oh, just that. Then we get on to the thing none of them are talking about, which is, of course, Ari Emanuel, Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel. So you've got Ari Emanuel, of course, linked in with Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Alex Jones, Donald Trump. I don't know what to say. No one's talking about it. I mean, there's a few obscure channels, like me, just obscure off to the side. It's all drag queen story time. Megyn Kelly's going on about women's rights not to have trannies in their toilets and all this other garbage. It's still going on. World War III is coming. We're all going to die. Buy my coffee mugs and T-shirts. I mean, seriously? Yes, seriously. We're back to that garbage, and here we are sitting today. Tell me all about Rahm Emanuel is Obama's chief of staff, and his brother Ari Emanuel is handling all these other people. It's one big happy family. One big happy family. Let's talk about that. Ari Emanuel, right there, hosing down that slob Elon Musk. Before we go any further, let's talk about that. But why talk about that? Trannies are coming. The trannies. It's the old theme. Remember, what is the actual narrative that matters? Let's cut this short. What is the narrative that matters? And I'm not even joking. I've actually been really depressed. Quite a few people have just said, what? But here we are. Let's let the dust settle, and I'll tell you, the big picture, the North Star, which never sees you wrong. Let's watch what the big picture happens. Let the big boys decide. If you think Tulsi Gabbard or that Segwith, whatever his name was, going to walk into the Department of Defense and start bossing, you're in big trouble. Don't believe it for a single freaking second. I just don't believe it. It's impossible. So let's watch and see. The North Star is the continual engagement of the United States. They have shafted Ukraine, of course, failed to give them the supplies they needed over and over again. Now we see the big channels starting to talk about it. Torsten, what's-his-face, German guy, has just gone to town.
The Washington Post talking about it, and they say it's going to have a very specific and limited effect on the battlefield. Other comments were coming from the US government and US officials that it is not aiming at changing the outcome of the war. This might be aimed at change anything at all, but it shows again that the US government, the current US government, has moved to a stance for probably close to a year by now of just managing a Ukrainian defeat. I made a video about this probably 8-9 months ago, and it got a very bad reception because I said things that my audience didn't like to hear. But at that point, I said I cannot judge it in any other way than that the current US government is aiming at only managing a Ukrainian defeat. The aim of allowing the Ukrainians and enabling the Ukrainians to win the war has been given up, or it was never existent, and we see that here as well.
And said, clearly you never wanted them to win. Well, fancy that. He said, you've managed the war. Geez, Torsten, because I used to put quotes on his Patreon. No one was to win. That's correct. Remember, I said from the very start of the Ukraine war, it's not about winning or losing. It's about 2 US bases in Ukraine, the battle for Eurasia. So we see it unfolding today. Why I think there might be a nuclear weapon is it'll all be arranged. They'll do the deal with Putin. Hey, moron, you stay in. We'll feed you the chips to keep you going. We'll help rebuild your economy and keep you in place. And you shake a fist at France and Germany every 5 minutes for us. And then to justify the presence of the US in Eurasia. Then they all arrange a tactical nuke. It's just too good to pass up. It seals the deal. It's the final blow of the hammer to stake that claim. Then there's monuments. Oh my God, they've used a nuclear weapon, and just everybody's busy. I remember I said the 10 years were going to be hectic. I just thought there'd be like a few weeks, surely break. I don't think they'd just come out swinging like this. Look, all you see is rock and roll wrestling. All you see is a stage-managed theater. I mean, I've always known that, but geez, they're not even hiding it now. No, they don't even hide it. And I'm just, man, it's rattled me personally. Don't know how it's affecting you, but it's rattled the hell out of me. In fact, I believe that they've pulled their zipper out and they're hanging their schlongs out. That's what they're doing. They're displaying. There's nothing you can do about it, Brendan. I am demoralized. I am totally demoralized. It's not clever. It's not clever theater. They're not even trying. And you just sit there so demoralized and depressed. Are you kidding me? But let's wait and see. When I saw Pompeo not in, I was deeply concerned because he should have been Secretary of Defense or Secretary of State again. But he's not. So we got these eggs worth. He's a fucking moron. If you believe he's got 2 Bronze Star Surveillance, I don't believe it for a minute. Straight out of the Manchurian Candidate. I don't believe it. I don't believe anything about these people. They're groomed for a long time. And you've got Fox News, they all hate Trump. Tucker Carlson hates Trump. Alex Jones hates Trump. They're on the record as hating Trump. But here they all are playing their little roles and grifting to their heart's content, on the surface at least, but getting their lines. You know, you got a billionaire named Rupert Murdoch, a multi-billionaire globalist of globalists, hanging around with the ultimate globalist Heinz Kissinger for 50 plus years, who's the literal right hand and close friend of Lord Jacob Rothschild, supposedly both dead, the poster boys. And for the working man, the only bright star is Bannon and Gates, in my opinion. Why are they so panicky over Matt Gates? I mean, seriously? Why are they so panicky? Probably because of his very close relationship with Steve Bannon. What's his face in the Office of Naval Intelligence? Whatever. Oh, God. Can you feel it? I haven't been busy. I'm demoralized. But let's just wait and see. They're not even trying anymore. So what's the narrative? We know about the battle for Eurasia. That's the bottom line. It's the battle for Eurasia. The battle of the billionaires. No, it's the battle of Eurasia. So as they set up the fallout from the multipolar world order, I'm deeply concerned about Bibi's new role. CrowdStrike, and then he turns up, and I could see the temperature change. But again, the core is Ari Emanuel and Rahm Emanuel and that whole Trotskyite movement up there at the University of Chicago. This has to be explained. And then you've got good old, excuse my hairs are wet, Susie Q. You don't know who Susie Q is, do you? You Gen X inferiors. Untermenschen. I'm not telling. You'll have to work it out. I've become a Gen X supremacist the last few months. Anyways, here we sit. What did Norman Dodd say? Foundation system. So you have the bankers, the trannies are coming. I'm more concerned about bankers. But what about the trannies, Brennan? More concerned about bankers. That's all I have to say on it now. They're just going to keep popping up this. When I say nonstop for the next 10 years, I mean nonstop for the next 10 years. So strap in. You're just going to have to flow with it and keep your head above water. Pay your mortgage, do whatever you got to do. I'm going to try and do the same and get back on track myself. It's going to be wild, man. But let's get the big picture we need. What would the real narrative be? I continue to be impressed with Bannon's rhetoric. If Bannon will stay sober, dress properly, put anti-dandruff stuff through his hair, and generally clean himself up, I don't know, maybe he can do something. But it's amazing how sidelined he is. But is he really sidelined? With Matt Gaetz in the mix, it's going to be interesting. Going after the Fed chairman like that, are they dog whistles? Well, we don't know, because all we seem to get are dog whistles. So I wouldn't get excited about anything. All I know is keep the pressure on. Don't disengage. As tempting as it is, trust me, after this, I can't do this anymore. I was seriously thinking about deleting everything and just running away. I can't do this anymore. After I calm down a bit and stay engaged. There's 2 times, just stay engaged. Bannon's rhetoric is, as usual, fantastic. Like I said, the difference between Bannon and the bone tossers like an Alex Jones is Bannon is obviously articulate in this matter, and he's done it again and again and again and again. It's beyond normal rhetoric now. Now we're into super rhetoric. But I'm just wondering when that rhetoric turns to actual policy. So far, they're going to lock up the trannies. They're going to go after the little brown people. And there's going to be how are they going to mass deport? If people won't go, they'll have to pay everyone 30 grand a pop to get rid of them. If they won't go voluntarily, did you know how difficult it is? You can't get someone on a plane. You'll say, well, we'll put them on a military plane. Okay. The men, women, and children, will they be chained and hooded? Now, you don't understand. You haven't thought about this. It's not as easy as you think. And then the country of origin has to accept them. If they can say, we're not letting the plane land, and everybody hates America, so why would they cooperate? So if you can tell me how they're going to mass deportation, we said mass, million, how are you going to do it? It's never happening ever. No matter how many times they say, we're building a military base in the desert, it's not happening. They are lying. They're going to perp walk the worst of the worst covered in tattoos, drop them off over the Amazon, whatever, pay Guatemala to take them. They'll do that, and the rest is bullshit. It's not happening. End of story. There's your first clue. Like build the wall. It's not happening. Look, I'm in Mexico. I watch them every day on the roads. Why wouldn't you this is how you know it's all bullshit. It's so simple. All they had to do was pay Mexico to block their border or build a camp in southern Mexico, build lots of healthcare facilities, education facilities for a few $1 billion, pay off all the local Mexicans, the Mexican government would be happy, build schools in the region for both them and all these migrants, and then give them a free high-speed phone, put 28 gigahertz 5G high-speed internet in, give them free access, and then psychologically profile them. Pick out the best of the best and just fly them straight into the States. All right, you've got a demographic problem. You want slaves. You want new workers. I'm not saying it's right, but I understand. Why wouldn't you do that? Why do you want chaos? Because they want fucking chaos. You just get the Mexican government to fix the problem for you and you pay them. Oh, no, we don't want that. That would be orderly. The aim is to use this as like drag queen story time, is to distract people, set up more police state powers, so you'll accept more police state powers, more biometric scanning, more cameras and facial scanners, and the game goes on. There will be, I'll triple down, I'll quadruple down, there will be no mass deportations. Mass deportations. Not just deportations, mass. That means, what, 1 million people? It's not happening. It's just not happening. So watch, this will be the first clue of the bullshit that's going on. It's just total fucking bullshit. Or what's new in the big rhetoric game? Big dog Bannon. When we're going to get rhetoric turned to real policy, not your dog whistles. real policy. How about you take over the Fed? End it, legislate, take it over, and you make the Fed part of the government. It's amazing, isn't it? The government can go to war, kill millions of people, do a whole range of things. It can handle billions in healthcare and all this other stuff, okay? Legislate all sorts of important. But you can't have control of the money. Oh, no, 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 no. That's got to be in the hands of a private corporate body. I mean, think about it. It's just a load of crap. If the government mismanages the money supply, well, guess what? They get voted out. That's how you manage it. I'm sorry, I haven't seen the Fed chairman voted out yet. I want to see the Federal Reserve in the hands of the people, the government of the United States. Number one. It's not about ending the Fed or crypto. It's about who owns and controls it. But they never asked that question, do you, Whitney Webb? We can also talk about crypto. They're going to sucker everyone in, pour the money in like US dollars into those systems. Then they're going to peg it. Once you're pegged to the US dollar, isn't it obvious? You are now a central bank digital currency. They're going to confiscate it. They're going to roll it over and say, come in, sucker, pay your pennies on the dollar and come in, suckers. And that'll be the central bank digital currency. So you can see this stuff all unfolding. There's some very worrying things to do with AI. Everyone around Trump is Chabad Lubavitch involved in AI investment like the Kushners, Elon Musk. It's to the point now of absurdity. It really is detangling. How can Chabad Lubavitch have any place anywhere near a government? I mean, it's just become normal now. Rabid neo-Nazi raving fucking lunatics are in the government. Think about it. It's normal, isn't it? It's normal. It's not fucking normal. El Presidente of Argentina, Milei, has converted to not just Orthodox Judaism, ultra-Orthodox, Chabad. What? So let's ask ourselves, let's get a reference point. What would it really sound like if someone was telling the truth? They'd get up and they'd say, the problem, what's the problem? International banking cartel, City of London, Rothschild. Let's start there, the poster boys. Giant international private banking cartel, 13 families of Europe. Sounds a bit out there, too fucking bad. Just say it. And say those 13 families of Europe are funding via the foundation system, think tanks, roundtable groups, History of Cecil Rhodes. That's the Club of Rome, Bilderberger, Davos, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, on and on and on and on. Endless think tanks, endless foundations like the Kaiser Foundation in Oklahoma. Bragging at George Kaiser's bringing in Unit 8200 in the University of Oklahoma. That's the system. Norman Dodd told us. And what do they want? The convergence of the United States and Russia. Oh, fancy that. I got a better idea. Just rule America. All right, that's it. Good luck. It's crazy times. Catch you again soon.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom. Only